Okay, so it seems as though the Boruto anime has potentially already changed the course of the Naruto history with the technically first episode of the Boyhood arc of the Boruto Naruto Next Generations anime, episode 129. It's freaking crazy. Like, I've been talking about it all week, but I cannot stop talking about how much I enjoyed this episode. I watched it already like 2 times back to back. I was like, yo, I didn't want this episode to end, and there was a lot to talk about, but also, again, I think that this could have some serious consequences that'll affect not only the future of the Boruto anime, but potentially even the Boruto manga. Let's talk about it. No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done. So yes, people, the Boruto anime has officially began. The Boyhood arc with Boruto and Sasuke going to the past. And it's been crazy. Now, obviously, in case you haven't been watching, there's a reason how they got to the past. They got this turtle, while Urashiki, the Otsutsuki, the third Otsutsuki, stole the turtle and used it to basically blast himself trying to get back in time. Boruto and Sasuke went following him, and one thing led to another, and now they're in the past of Konoha. So the setting we find out in this episode, this is probably shortly, very shortly after Sasuke left the village. Now, I'm wondering, because I can't really remember exactly how much downtime there was between the time Sasuke was essentially kidnapped from the village. Is this after the Naruto v Sasuke fight, like the final fight of part 1, or is this after he deserted the village but before Naruto went out to find him? I want to say that this is after, pretty much this is after part 1 but before part 2, essentially, because Naruto's walking around the village with Jiraiya, which probably means he's already set out on his quest of training so that he could catch up and eventually, you know, thwart off the Akatsuki and everything that was warned that was going to occur in part 2 with Shippuden and whatnot. But man, this episode, I don't know, like a part of me knows why I love it so much, because let's be honest here, when we have the older cast, and I've said this so many times, but it's so true, the older cast get involved, we love it. Especially you take it to a nostalgic point where I'm sure majority of Naruto watchers that love part 1 and have fond memories to be able to revisit it, but also feel as though it has kind of consequences to the current plot line of the story. It's a nice blend, and I think that this was a very genius idea from Masashi Kishimoto and Studio Pierrot to kind of shake things up and get people excited. I'm really hoping that they use this opportunity as well to push forth even further with the Boruto anime of like, okay, you know, getting a lot of the older viewers back in, because this is a great ploy. I'm curious if they're using this as an experiment as well to see how many people they could pull in, getting a lot of the older fans to get excited, because again, we're revisiting the Naruto universe of the past, seeing the older characters, but again, it's still current timeline, you know what I'm saying? Still current plot stuff with Boruto and adult Sasuke showing up. Now, the beginning of the episode is crazy because it starts off already, Boruto meets Sakura. It's like, we're not even there a few minutes getting the rules and everything of like, hey, don't interrupt anything, which this is totally an homage to a certain degree of Back to the Future. I mean, the way Boruto is dressed, Sasuke is kind of like the old scientist guy, like that totally gives me the vibes of like, yeah, this is Naruto or Boruto's answer to Back to the Future with doing some time travel. But meeting Sakura, that was funny and whatnot, and I love seeing the older characters in this updated art and animation. To a certain degree, I'm not that fond of Naruto's newer looking design, because they redesigned him, I'm not exactly sure when, but somewhere in Shippuden they redesigned the old version of how Naruto looked, and it's more simplistic, and I'm not that fond of the way he looks with his new character design for the old model or the old Naruto. But nevertheless, getting to run into Sakura already, which this is what I'm talking about, where I feel as though we are already altering the past. The turtle warned not to mess with anything, like stay away from anybody you may know. Immediately, Sasuke's running into his future wife. Boruto's running into his master's future wife. Bam. Already. Then on top of that, one of the most closest things that you can have, you know, a relationship, father and son, Boruto runs into Naruto, which I love it. This makes me feel like, man, because I always, and I still to this day, feel very, very sorry whenever I think about what Naruto went through. You know, he went through a freaking living hell of just being alone all the time, and loneliness can, you know, really affect somebody. So when you just seeing that this kid, which obviously is his son in the future that he doesn't know, but seeing them having these back and forths and just like them saying the same words and all of that stuff, it feels nice, and it feels like, man, if only Naruto had a friend like his son when he was younger. And it was just like so many emotional moments. But you know, from the start of the episode when they run into each other again, that's gonna have dire consequences, on top of the fact that eventually he does, instead of coming up with a fake name or whatever, like, hey, my name is Tony or something like that, he said, no, my name is Boruto, which I don't remember who was it, if it was Naruto or Hinata that came up with Boruto's name when he was born, but I'm imagining that there's a possibility that either this could be incorporated into how they came up with the name for Boruto, because Naruto's obviously going to remember this at some given point, right? Which, this is what I'm talking about, that unless something happens that negates and voids everything that we're seeing right now, this could have major effects on the future, alone with him running into Naruto saying, hey, my name is Boruto. You know, there's even scenes where he talks to him and tells him about certain aspects of, like, yeah, you know, the Himawari's birthday again. So I met this kid that, which they're totally, to a certain degree, I'm like, okay, yeah, going a little too far, because if you think about it, Boruto has the whiskers on the side of his face, just like Naruto. Like, you telling me nobody's gonna pick up on, hey, like, it just seems so obvious to me. But again, you gotta think that maybe people aren't just gonna realize, like, hey, somebody came back in time, you know what I'm saying? So you gotta kind of compartmentalize, even though it seems a little ridiculous. Boruto got the whiskers, you would think that people would be immediately like, yo, is that like Naruto's long lost brother or something? But then, one of my favorite moments is seeing Jiraiya back. Oh my god, I'm not even gonna lie, like, a part of me, I was just so emotional watching this episode. Like, I don't rewatch Boruto episodes almost ever, except maybe like the Naruto and Sasuke versus Momoshiki fight. Okay, yeah, I rewatched the crap out of that, but like, the fact that I rewatched it, it just shows how emotional I felt and how attached I felt seeing again the old cast, seeing Jiraiya, that he's there, you know, the good old times of him being a perv and all that stuff. But absolutely hilarious. I loved it. It's giving Boruto an idea, even though it shows that people romanticize relationships, right? Because just an episode ago, Sasuke said, you know, me and you, our relationship is nothing about what Naruto and Jiraiya went through. You know what I'm saying? He taught him how to walk the way of a shinobi and all that. And then you're going back in time and he's like, oh, so he was just peeping on some girls with some binoculars, and you know what I'm saying, them running away from being peeping toms, him giving him the binoculars. Is like, yeah, history definitely gets altered as people keep on telling it, because again, Sasuke wasn't even around for that. And I think that that's another cool factor, that Sasuke, I don't think he ever even was one time around for Naruto's relationship with Jiraiya. By the time, well, no, I guess in the very beginning he kind of, you know, seen that, okay, he has a master, but he really wasn't around for their relationship, because all of Shippuden, up until even after Jiraiya's death, Sasuke wasn't around to see what type of camaraderie they created, what type of bond they had, Naruto and Jiraiya. So to see that is kind of nice. To a certain degree, it's probably striking a chord in Sasuke, because he's getting to see the village after he deserted it and went, you know, to go after Orochimaru for those powers or whatever, or to get stronger. So I think there's an emotional roller coaster going for Sasuke more so than Boruto. Boruto is just fascinated, like, oh, this is Sakura, oh, this is my father, oh, this is the Jiraiya. Now he knows that he's really pervy sage. So there's two different conflicts that's going on, while Boruto is not even conflict, he's just enjoying the ride right now. Like, oh man, the only thing he's worried about is Udashiki's supposed to show up in a couple days, while Sasuke is just probably reminiscing, probably filled with some regret of what he did, seeing that Sakura, if you think about it, it's kind of a lonely thing. Like, you just see Sakura walking by herself all the time, because she's at this particular point crushed and destroyed that Sasuke abandoned her. So there's probably a lot of emotions going on in Sasuke's head. But then the part of the episode that really hit me the most was, and the most intimate and very quiet part, was when Naruto took Boruto to his old apartment. And you see, just like, again, and this, I remember Road to Ninja had me in tears. Naruto's lonely life is so freaking sad that, you know, he's showing him and he's like, I'm gonna make you a gourmet meal, and it's just like some ramen, and Boruto saying like, my father really hasn't changed that much from the olden days. But the conversation they had when they were going to bed at the very end of the episode, that part, it hit the feels, because just seeing what Naruto really went through, that he is looking at Boruto as Boruto is telling all these stories about his family, like, you know, from the jump, as soon as they get into the apartment, he's like, yeah, I live alone, I don't know my mom or my dad. And to hear Boruto talking about this and that, and, you know, the inside jokes of him basically admitting like, yeah, oh, he sounds like a shitty father or stuff like that, it really just, it's bringing it all forth of like, man, I'm sure Boruto is recognizing to a certain degree I got it good. I've had it good. Like, my father, he really didn't live a good life growing up, you know, by himself in this apartment, eating by himself, to the fact that Naruto, and I love that he doesn't look like he's jealous. He doesn't look like he's, maybe he's envious, but in a very subtle and nice way, that he's just there smiling, staring like, oh man, you know, what's that like, having a family and stuff. It's just so freaking sad and heartbreaking, honestly. This episode, nostalgic, very emotional. It was cool to see Tsunade as well. We got to see Tsunade in the beginning of the episode, and I don't know, that was just random, and like, okay, that was terrible when Sasuke throws the ball and says, yeah, we're show performers. Like, so do you walk around with that all the time, Sasuke? Like, but I feel as though to a certain degree maybe Tsunade doesn't completely believe him. The fact that she had Naruto and Jiraiya watch them, and to be honest with you, I wouldn't be surprised if, even though it's funny, yeah, it's Pervy stage is probably going off to Perv more, he's probably keeping his eyes on them himself. He's probably a little bit suspicious as to, remember, Jiraiya is very, very wise. Why does this kid look just like Naruto? Why does that youngster kind of, like, you know what I'm saying? He's possibly watching them from afar as well. The same thing that Sasuke is doing when he dipped and he's watching. So there's a huge possibility that it already has consequences. You got to think, Naruto, I'm sure, is going to remember meeting his son and hearing the story of Himawari's cake and hearing his name is Boruto. That's going to have consequences. On top of that, who knows what consequences it could have for Jiraiya's fate. And that's what I'm really excited to see, because I don't want to spoil anything, but yeah, it seems as though there's a possibility that this could have major consequences besides what I mentioned for the future of the Naruto story. I'm curious what you guys think though. If you checked out the latest episode of Boruto, episode 129, how did you feel? What did you think going back in time to basically right after Sasuke deserted the village? Do you think that Boruto is already changing history? The fact that he's revealing stuff from the future. My name is Boruto. You know, my father is always busy. Everyone depends on him. Do you think that that's going to have major consequences? And just what are your expectations for this arc? I can't freaking wait to continue. You don't understand. When I was watching this episode, I was like, I don't want it to end. Nostalgia. And your world thoughts and expectations for the future of Boruto episode 130 and beyond. I'm just gonna enjoy this arc and have a blast, because it just feels so freaking good to go back and revisit the past one more time with the cast of Boruto, or, you know, a couple of the cast of Boruto, and just see the major changes of the village and the shinobi world as we know it. But that's all I have for this one though. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, hit that bell to get all notifications, and if you want to follow any of my other social media, links of course in the description below. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always people, have an awesome day, and remember the golden rule: anime and manga for life, boy! Have an awesome day, peace in, and Boruto anime is getting so good! Enjoy the next ride, but I was the best ride!